to do. And second, there is another important way of seeing sin. In order to advance a little bit quick, I'm going to read the text from the screen here. Romans chapter 7, verse 17 says, but now, Paul is talking about the plight of his own experience. He says, but now it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. Verses 20 and 21 says, now if I do what I will not to do, it is no longer I who do it, but sin that dwells in me. I find then a law that evil is present with me, the one who wills to do good. Sin is an action, but also sin is a principle. Sin is the action of disobedience against the commandment of God. But that action of disobedience to the commandment of God creates a principle of sin, and when Adam and Eve disobeyed God and broke his commandments, sin took control of human nature. So much so that Paul says that I cannot do what is good because sin controls me. Evil dwells in me. Is that clear? Dear friends, every bit of reality that you and I see is tainted by sin. Everything. There is nothing in this world that has not been touched by sin. Let me give you an illustration to help you understand a little bit our reality. If you and I have been born in a leper's colony, and my mother and father and my grandfather and my grandmother and my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother all had been born in this leper's colony, I would think naturally that leprosy is the way of living. True? Yes or no? It would be natural for me when everyone around me is a leper, everyone around me has missing parts of their body and they smell. For me, leprosy is the way of life, is normality. True? Until one day a person who is not a leper walks into the colony. Then my sense of reality would be completely challenged and even shattered, because until that moment I think that I am normal. But then when I see a human being who is complete, who is whole, who is not sick, I would not know what to do with this human being. True? Yes or no, friends? Yes. Well, you and I have been born in a world which is completely controlled by sin. All our reality is dominated and controlled by sin. My mother and father, so they were born in a world. And so on, you follow the line all the way until Adam and Eve. And the only human beings that ever lived in a world that was not controlled by sin were my first parents, Adam and Eve. From then on, sin is natural for human beings. But sin, friends, is an intruder. Sin is rebellion. Sin is disobedience. Sin is hatred towards the Creator. Now let me ask you a question. How do you tell a bunch of lepers that they are sick if they had grown up in that condition? It's a good question, isn't it? Now, let me ask you a question. How do you tell a bunch of human beings, how do you tell them and convince them that they are sick of a disease they cannot heal, when for all of us it's normal? The only one who can tell us is God. True? And if we are willing to believe what God has left on the scriptures, and we are willing to take on the reality that He describes, and if we are willing to believe the description He gives us of ourselves, then there is hope for humanity for a transformation and to live without the power of sin. If not, there is no one who can heal you of your disease. Let me show you a little bit of what it means to be controlled by sin. what it means to have fallen under the power of Satan. That's why I said to you, this presentation is going to challenge you. I don't want to scare you, but I'm going to challenge you, friends, because it is the only way that you can come to the realization of how much you need Jesus in your life. In the book of John, chapter 12, verse 31, Jesus tells us that at the moment this world was usurped by Satan and Adam surrendered his loyalty to Satan, Satan became the ruler of this world. Did you hear that? Who is the ruler of this world? Adam was the ruler of this world. He was the head of the race. He was the representative of God on planet Earth. He was the image of God. Seeing Adam and the way he ruled the world would be seeing God and the way he rules the universe. But when Adam fell and Satan takes the place of Adam, now he has become the God of this world. And human beings think that seeing Satan is seeing God. Therefore, we have developed a completely distorted image of God on our mind, because each time that a disaster happens, a death takes place, an accident occurs, Satan says to us, you see that God doesn't love you? And the only way to clear the doubts, the only way to correct the picture, the only way to come out of his domination is by taking what this book says. Because this book comes from another world, friends. This book comes from the reality that you and I used to live. The reality where the universe dwells today. The reality of God. And the only way for lepers to learn about an outside world is to read literature from the outside world. And the only way for human beings to learn about the other world, the world without sin, is to read the only literature that speaks about that world, the Word of God. Do you think that Satan likes the Bible? Do you think that Satan likes the Bible? Of course not, because it's destroying his kingdom, friends. And so Satan has become the ruler of planet Earth and human beings. What happened to us? In the book of John chapter 8 verse 34, Jesus says it so plainly. He says, Jesus answered them, most assuredly, I say to you, whoever commits sin is a slave of sin. The moment that Adam and Eve surrendered their allegiance to God and obeyed Satan, you know what happened? Adam and Eve became the slaves of Satan. And every human being that has been born from that moment on, listen to this, has been born as a slave. What is a slave? A slave is a person who belongs to someone else. A slave is someone who does not have a will of his own. He is the total possession of a master. True? And the Bible is telling us, Jesus is saying that human beings, because we have committed sin, we have broken the law, and sin controls our nature, we are slaves of Satan, naturally, friends. Please, this is not Pastor Sam trying to bash you on the head to make you feel guilty. No, friends. All I'm trying to do is to show you the picture of who I am and who you are, in order now for you to understand why we need Jesus so urgently. Satan has deceived human beings to think they are free. And humans truly think that running away from God is freedom. Friends, it's craziness. God is the only one who can give you freedom. And he says to you, my child, come to me and I'm going to make you free. And human beings say, who needs God? I'm going to do what I want. I'm not going to be a slave of anyone. This thing of going to church, that's crazy. Hey, friends, there are only two masters. And you are not one of them. Sadly, you naturally are controlled by Satan. So when you think that you are making your own decisions, guess who is behind your decisions? That you wake up in the morning and you have made a decision. Last night you made, this is the last cup of beer I ever drink. I'm not drinking anymore. That's it. Thank you. I knew I could overcome. You go to bed. 8 hours